Hi, I'm Julie Ulrich. I'm an American, but I live in France, and I'm a horse trainer, also a rider, competitor, teacher, coach. I've done a lot of things with horses throughout my life, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk today about training horses. I think all of us like to train horses. That's why we began this. Horses are a lot of fun, and the joy of horses is that there are no two alike. Everything that you do with a horse, even though you're going toward the same goal with every horse, and that's what you like to do with them, show jump or field hunt or dressage or whatever you want to do with the horse, you'd probably try to do more or less that with every horse. But it isn't the same thing because every horse is slightly different, and you need to be able to be flexible in the way that you approach a horse, and then your method must correspond with that horse's personality. There have been a lot of methods developed over the years. In fact, since the 1600s, there have been methods of training horses. There's the Caprilli method, which is probably the forerunner to the American hunter method. There is the Hungarian method. We were lucky in the United States to have Bert Timothy, who came from the Hungarian school, and he was a wonderful, articulate, wonderful horseman. We were lucky to have him, but he was not the only Hungarian formed by the Hungarian school. There were many of them. It's a great school of riding. There is the Weirother method that is taught at the Spanish riding school. There is the French method, the German method, the Portuguese method. All of these methods are wonderful, but each method corresponds with a certain type of horse. And a person who is educated in many of these classic methods can talk to or educate practically any horse he comes across in his whole life. Whereas a person who forms his own personal method, now I'm sure you've talked to people who have said, my method is a good method. Look, I trained 3 horses in a row now, and every one of those horses go really well. Now I come up with this 4th horse, and I can't do a thing with him. He doesn't respond to me. He doesn't want to learn. So I'm going to have to get tough with this horse and be a little stricter with him. Actually, the problem is not the horse. It isn't the rider either. It's the method. If he was willing to show the flexibility of a really good trainer, he would change his method. Many riders do not know very many methods. They only know the one that they learned at the beginning. It takes a lot of methods to be a real horse trainer because you have to be able to change your method to suit the horse that you're training. Let me tell you a story about my father. This has nothing to do with horses, but my father, was a brilliant chemist. But at the end of the World War II, and we kids were a little too young to have done this, he decided he would take the kids to Germany to see what had been going on in Germany and to see the ravages of war, but also to see evidence of what had been going on. He wanted to go right away before they made a parking lot out of what was a national disgrace. He wanted to take us, even though we were a little too young. So we went off and we saw it all. And he wanted us to see it because he wanted us never to repeat it. Uh, we stopped for lunch out in the countryside, and we went to a restaurant, and Dad decided he didn't speak any German. He only spoke American. He said to the man, we would like a table for 4 for lunch, please. And it was a little too soon after the war, and the Germans didn't really want you there. They didn't like Americans. And the man said, "Nix verstehen," which means I don't understand you. So my father repeated his question, but louder. He said, we want a table for 4 for lunch. And the man said in the same tone of voice, "Nix verstehen," which means I don't understand you. My father wound up and yelled the same question at the man to see if he couldn't make the man understand simply by volume. The man threw us out. Okay, so we left there, and it was amazing that my father did not start World War III. And I would like to wonder if you see the parallel with that with some horse trainers. They canter across the diagonal and they apply their aids for a flying change. Nothing happens. The horse either changes in front or not behind, or he's disunited, or he doesn't know what to do. So he said, all right, I'm going to try that again. But this time when I canter across that diagonal, I'm going to ride the same way, but I'm going to use my aids a little stronger. And he does that. And nothing happens. The horse either disunited, it doesn't change at all, it gets excited, whatever. But now the horse is a little nervous. So the guy gets off and he goes in the tack room and he gets a stronger bit. He also gets a pair of spurs and a stick. And he said, now let me at him. Now I will canter across that diagonal and he's going to change his leads. Well, this man is on his way to starting World War III because the horse still doesn't understand. The problem is not the aids and it's not anything about that rider, is that he's using a method that doesn't correspond with that horse. The horse doesn't understand it. And what happens then is the horse loses his confidence in his handler because he doesn't understand him. And pretty soon you need some expert to undo this baggage. They say in America, this horse is carrying a lot of baggage. That means he's had a lot of bad handling. Bad handling is relative. Riding the horse with the wrong method is bad handling. And a lot of times that occurs from a lack of education on the part of the person who is riding or trying to train the horse. I didn't know much about the German method. With all the reading I did when I was a kid, I had learned the Caprilli method pretty much. I had learned the French method. I knew that pretty well. We had Denemothy, so we were exposed to the Hungarian method, Gordon Wright method, with George Morris is the biggest protege of that method. We knew some methods, but I didn't understand the German method. So I stopped everything. I went to Germany and I rode for Rainer Klempe. Rainer was a wonderful horseman. He didn't teach, but he said, you can ride my horses and you can watch me. I said, that's enough. I can do that. So I did. I rode his horses and I watched him. And after about a month, he said to me at a cocktail party, what is that system that you're riding? Because I don't know the system. I see what you're doing. And I said, it's the Weyrother system that I learned from a rider of the Spanish riding school. Oh, he said, he took a step back. Do not use that method on my horses, please. I have been to the Spanish riding school and I've seen horses that would not even approach the corner because they're so afraid that one is going to use one of those corner exercises to make the horse do something. I've seen horses that wouldn't even go to the corner. And I don't want that. I don't like that kind of training. Please change your method. Well, I was taken aback because the method is my go-to method for a horse that doesn't understand. It's very clear. And it had been working great on all of the 6 horses I was riding. So I was a little bit nervous. I didn't know what to do. I simply disguised my method. I keep riding the same way. And after a month, we were at another party and he had his glass of schnapps and he said to me, you know, you're still riding that same method. I said, yes, I am, because it seemed to be working so well and the horses were happy with me and I wasn't interfering with what you do. And he said, stop, I've really watched you riding and I watched the horses and I ride them afterward. You know what? He said, I've learned something. It wasn't so much the method that I saw at the Spanish riding school. It was the person implementing the method. When you ride, you're a very quiet and kind rider, and that method works fine with you. I've changed my mind. I like the method. Continue riding that method. Rainer had the kind of flexibility and open-mindedness that it takes to be a true trainer of horses. How many did he train? How many times was he world champion in dressage? It was because of this flexibility. He rode the German system, but when he watched that other system, he said, wait a minute, that's a good system too. You know what? They're all good systems. They're all good methods. But the trick is to speak German to a German, speak Italian to an Italian guy, speak American to an American person. They'll understand you. And right away, most of your problems go away because you're speaking the same language as the person to whom you are talking. And that's the same with a horse. Most of the problems are not because the rider is not good. It's because he's using the method that doesn't work on that particular horse. So I think it's well worth investing. I invested a lot in my education. I didn't invest any money. I invested me. I invested my energy. I invested my time to read all those books. When I didn't understand a method, I found an example of someone in my area who rode that method, and I went to watch it. And when I couldn't understand the German method, I went to Germany. And I learned a lot about how much I had misunderstood the German method. These are the efforts that one has to make to be a trainer of a horse, because there are no two horses which are exactly alike. And when you run into difficulty, the fastest thing you should do is back up and try another method. Don't get stronger. Try another method. If it takes strength, it isn't the right method. Back up, go to another method. If you haven't learned any other method, that's a shame. You should learn another method. Your own personal method that you pulled out of the sky and invented when you were riding all by yourself, that's fine, but it won't work on only a certain number of horses. Better, they develop many better methods than we will ever develop. Better to go back, study the classics, invest yourself. You don't have to invest any money. It doesn't cost anything. Invest yourself, learn the right method, and speak German to a German guy, and speak English to an English guy. All right, thanks for watching, and I really hope to get some feedback from you as to what you think of my rather bizarre ideas on horse training, but I'd like to hear from you so I know what you make of this. Okay, bye.